Hey guys, it turns out all you need is 11 days rest to pitch a one-hitter, and we're here with special guest Steve Hofstetter. So stick around after Mets Wrap 360 on AFTERBUZZ TV.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
The Mets, meet the Mets. Hey guys, welcome to Mets Wrap 360 on AFTERBUZZ TV. I am your host, Matt Ritter. Christian is on assignment at Shea Stadium right now. To the end over here, we've got Andrea Fasano. Tell them where they can find you.
Thank you, Matt. You can find me on all social media at Andy Fasano. And I'm so glad to hear this song and not be depressed.
It's exciting.
For a moment,
even more exciting, we've got special guest, the man in purple, Steve Hofstetter.
I can't believe you sent Christian on assignment to Shea.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah. Well, actually, wait. They're playing in Philadelphia, aren't they?
Or also, it's called Citi Field.
Oh, my God.
It's okay.
I'm dating myself here.
Yeah.
Citi Field.
He's on assignment in 2004?
We sent him back in time to get David Wright to not overwork his back.
Yeah.
We sent him back in time.
Yes.
Steve, tell everybody where they can find you.
My Twitter is at Steve Hofstetter, or my YouTube's pretty big. That's the Hofstetter.
Pretty
and there's
big.
a bunch of baseball stuff there.
Pretty big understatement. The guy's got millions
45
and millions
million?
and billions.
51.
51 million views, and
Awesome.
I was with him for a big one. He's the king of the viral heckler videos. But what's cool about Steve is not only is he an awesome comic, he's a diehard Mets fan. And we actually went down for spring training to watch the Mets this year.
How fun.
Yeah, it was great.
It was
Wasn't that
great.
awesome?
Yeah, 5 games in 5 days. We did 5 games and 6 shows in 5 days.
Yeah.
Which was nuts.
I think, but for me as a Mets fan, the coolest part was because Steve also has all these sports connections and does some work for Fox Sports. We got to go in that clubhouse.
Yeah, we got to go in the clubhouse. We got to sit in the dugout. The craziest part wasn't even the Mets part, because there was that one day, the game ended up getting rained out, but it was Marlins versus Nationals. And so we were sitting in the Nationals dugout, watching Bryce Harper, watching Barry Bonds, watching Giancarlo Stanton.
What?
It was
Like,
kind
it
of
was-
crazy.
yeah.
I remember
That's
thinking,
surreal.
I remember because we were talking about how the Marlins coaching staff is ridiculous.
Yeah, the
too.
Marlins coaching staff could take on most teams right
Who
now.
was it? It's Bonds.
Bonds, Conine,
Mattingly.
Mattingly, Andre Dawson, Lenny Harris. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty stacked. So that was cool, and
Yeah, it's like the Mets DL.
yeah, it's pretty much the Mets DL. But I also thought
I think the Mets have the best DL of any team right now.
right now. So we've got Harvey. If we're considering the players who are on the DL good anymore.
Right. Harvey, Wright,
Right.
Duda.
Yeah.
Darno just got called up from the DL. But okay, Harvey, Wright, Duda. Guys who aren't on the DL but who are injured back and forth. Syndergaard.
It's pretty solid.
Cespedes for a couple
injuries.
days, Mats for a couple days, DeGrom for a couple days.
So you don't know this, but we've been playing the MASH theme song for a lot of
nice.
the intros to the podcast. Let's just actually jump in to what I thought was an interesting decision that just happened today. Nimmo down,
Conforto
up. Andrea, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, our last show we were talking about,
Yeah.
first of all, 5 shows ago, we were talking about Conforto and how wrong that felt, and just why. And I've really grown to really like Nimmo,
Yeah,
because
Dory.
I love
Yeah.
that any announcer cannot say Nimmo without saying Nemo, because that's funny to me. And I just think, I think give him a chance, And so I don't know how I feel about that exchange per se when there's so much other garbage going on.
Well,
Yeah, what do you think, Steve?
I think it's 2 weeks from the trade deadline, and we have to think about things that way as well.
Okay.
Because
Yeah, explain
I
that.
think that if they kept Nimmo up, he's not going to get many opportunities.
Right.
And so then he would just either become a guy who's not getting opportunities, or he'd become trade bait.
Okay.
So which he might still be in the minors.
Right.
When you think about a team with 5 outfielders that can start,
Yeah.
and not to mention Conforto, it was kind of crazy. That little report came out about how Conforto has had a better start than Trout and a better start than Harper to his career,
Right.
and then after that he hit 150.
It's
Yeah.
A bit of a curse there.
It was, that was unfortunate timing. But the idea is that Conforto has the ability to be this team's future.
Yeah.
Like, I really saw when he came up the first time, I was like, this is the next David Wright.
Yeah.
Like, this is the guy who, he's not going to be the best player in the league,
Yeah.
but he's going to be up there. He's going to be an all-star. He's going to be a regular presence in the clubhouse. He is a smiley, happy guy who does what is needed of him, who
Right.
doesn't complain. And then he started hitting 150. And so he needed seasoning.
Did you think it was the right move? See, I didn't like the idea of sending him down for Nimmo because now I feel that we've messed with two of our younger players' egos now.
I agree with
Not
that.
necessarily, because I think sometimes being sent down is the thing that needs to happen where
Yeah.
you go, okay, I can't get comfortable. And also, he had to play every day, and he did well.
Yeah, no, he did do well, but I just don't like using now Nimmo's. It just feels like now you're messing with the psyche.
Well,
of two
Nimmo came up a
players.
little early, though.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think Nimmo
Just
ever
a cup
felt
of
like he was going to
coffee.
stay.
I agree with that. I do, but I just, like I said, with how many other.
The problem, though, is now they called up Conforto.
Where's he gonna play?
And where the hell do you put him? Because now Lagares is finally doing well.
Granderson's hot.
And so,
Granderson's hot.
Although Granderson now, the stat from today, 16 home runs, 28 RBIs.
Isn't that so bizarre?
It's the lowest ratio of all time right now.
So if he ended the year right
If he
now,
ended
this
the
would
year
be
right
like
now-
the 1 point whatever.
If he ended
ratio.
the year right, well, not right now, but if he basically on pace for 30 home runs, it would be the lowest RBIs ever for someone who hit 30 home runs.
It would also be one of the coolest like baseball card, like on the back, like 32 homers, 49 RBIs.
Yeah, it'd be great, like
what?
32 homers, 31 RBIs. How did that happen? How's that even possible?
Yeah, he tripped over third
Yeah,
base.
it's very weird that they have such a glut in the outfield, and I mean the infield a little bit because now that they have Reyes, which don't get me started on that, or maybe get me started.
We're gonna
on
get you
that.
started. We are gonna
Have
get you
to.
started on that. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just the way it goes.
You're
We
here.
We get started on things.
The problem is that the Mets are full of B pluses at so many positions, and they
that's a
need
really good way to describe
they need
it.
what they need to do, and I don't know if they're going to do it because I mean the fans like all of these guys, and they're all great, and a lot of them are wonderful personalities as well. But what you need to do is sometimes you need to take two B pluses and trade them for an A, especially when you have B pluses on the bench.
Unfortunately, I don't know that we actually have that combo right now. Like I'm not like I don't know who like name two B pluses that you could. I mean, have you thought about like a theoretical trade
Nemo and Lagares.
for? I'm saying for who's an A player that you could actually get for those two.
I'd have to think about what A players are on
Yeah.
teams that are
See, I
that
thought
are
Ryan
dealers.
Braun would be like a potential.
Oh, I would hate that so much.
Really, you don't like him?
He's the worst.
He's the worst.
He is such a polarizing personality.
Oh, is he?
See,
don't
I
know-
love
don't
that
know
you
anything
talk about personalities because
Yeah.
I do that a lot. Like
Yeah.
I talk about
Yeah.
who they are as a person, as a player. Like that's I love Granderson. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just do. So I love that you're bringing that up and into this because
I
I,
got
think
him.
it's
I got him a
whole-
Granderson bobblehead. as
You
a
did?
gift, Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it is.
awesome.
It is very important.
I think it just
to,
says so much about the type of player they are and,
Yeah.
and how they conduct themselves and I just kudos to that.
Well,
because
thank
I
you.
agree. I
Well,
very much agree
so
with that.
when last year when Addison Reed first came to the team, and he had been on the team maybe 2-3 weeks,
Yeah.
and I was talking to him about it, and and I said, I was like, what's the difference here? Suddenly you're pitching lights out, and it wasn't going so well in Arizona, and he said this team just knows how to win. He said it's like nothing I've ever seen before, and he had played for decent White Sox team, and Diamondbacks team that was supposed to be coming up, and he said everybody is just so excited all the time. And you really saw that last season. You saw that with the personalities.
Yeah.
It was from Flores crying.
Yeah.
It was people were very excited to be a part of what was happening. And it's why Cespedes re-signed.
It's also why I kind of don't want to trade any of these B pluses because in a weird way, there's going to be more injuries. So now I
Yeah.
actually feel like, oh, we actually have some depth when everybody's healthy now. But two, I actually do feel like we've gotten to know this specific version of the Mets.
Yeah, but that is also why I'm not happy with Reyes there.
Yeah, I know. And we were listen. We
we're
got
on
into
the same
this.
page.
We got into the many reasons,
Yeah.
and yet he's hitting some really. He's making some really
He's
positive
he's
contributions on the field.
He's contributing. It was funny that the stat they said today during the game was that so Reyes, since he's been back, is leading the team in both RBIs and runs scored,
Wow.
but he's hitting 220. And so I was like, oh, that's not a testament to what Reyes is doing. That means no one's hitting.
right.
Like
Right.
that's what's happening right now.
That means you're the world's tallest midget or whatever they say.
Yeah.
It's like, but the thing about, we did talk about Reyes, but we'll delve back into it now that he is hitting, which is, kind of, I think, surprising to everybody how well he's playing. I think a little bit just because he didn't need any ramp up period. He's hitting, but my personal take has been Flores has never really gotten a chance to be an everyday player.
Yeah.
And he finally was and flourishing, and then Reyes comes, and now I feel like, what is this going to mean for Flores?
Yeah. And I mean, that's something that, like, eventually, I mean, no one was happy when Tejada wasn't brought back.
Right.
But that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
And think about it this way, the same way that it's like, oh, well, we're just getting to know this iteration. It's like, yeah, but, Cabrera, who we love, is new. And Walker, who we love, is new.
Yeah.
And so there are a lot of new people. And the fact is, Walker, he's not going to be there after this year.
I know.
It's very unlikely that he's going to.
He's on a 1-year deal, and we would need to pay him at least $10 million.
He's on the last year of his deal. We need to pay him a lot. We have Flores, and we also have Dilson Herrera, which the whole idea is that he was a bridge to Dilson.
Right.
So, you have to. We can't get too attached. And I'm not saying. And I mean, what team is going to need necessarily 2 outfielders? But at the same time, and I hate to say it, but I think what you do is you trade like a Flores and a Nemo.
Yeah.
If you really want to make a run at it this year.
Yeah.
And that's the question. You have to decide how much of a run are you going to make this year.
So let's talk about that. Andrea, do you feel like we're positioned to make a run with a trade? Like, are we, if we're being honest with ourselves, right? We're 49 and 42 now. But we do have a really easy September. Like, the odds of us making the playoffs are pretty solid. Do you feel like we should do whatever it takes to make a run at this?
My fanism says yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like of course you do, because I hate that about sports. Like, you just give up. Like, even in the NFL is a good because the amount of games they have. It's just kind of the thing. Okay, we're rebuilding in the middle of the season before it's over.
But six National League teams did that before the season started.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where I do agree with that. I still think there's a chance, absolutely, but it's hard because I feel like every week we've come in here and we've been talking about how we need big changes.
Yeah.
And so maybe this is what we're talking about, that like this would be a big change that we need.
Yeah.
Reyes being here and that adjustment period was very surprising.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of on the fence about that.
Maybe we could turn him around.
I just want it to be the right kind of.
Flip that Reyes.
Yeah, I just, what it is, I don't really know it's very hard, right? Because we're just such big Met fans, and it's hard to separate and go, what are we really? Are we really a contender, or is it just because...
I mean, right now, in the wild card spot, ahead of the Cardinals, ahead of the Pirates,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a contender.
Right, and making the playoffs, it's anybody's game. So, as we proved last year, because we were a surprise.
Right.
Yet, my issue is I think we have to make a run, and we may have to make a big trade.
But
because
how?
You don't know how... Well, first of all, because you don't know how big your window is, right? Everybody thinks their window, because you have young pitching, is going to be... last year we were like, oh, we got 10 years with these 4 studs.
Well, but we learned that this year with Harvey.
And so... I don't know what the trade is, but when I look at the Nationals lineup objectively, I go, man, that's a much better lineup than ours.
Okay, but at the same time, we're in the same division, so let them lose to someone else in the playoffs.
Right. So they could get knocked out for sure. Sure. I mean, look, I feel comfortable now.
I mean, they had what lineup did they have last year?
I mean, basically
pretty close to the same lineup.
I guess.
Now they had Matt Williams instead of Dusty, and Dusty is a much more of a player's manager, and that's what was needed over there. But at the same time, look how terrifying the Cubs were. And now they've been a 500 team.
Yeah. So I guess the answer is yes. We have to. We gotta go all out this year, especially since I do think the schedule is going to be pretty favorable for us.
And Duda's coming back.
Yeah.
Wheeler is eventually going to come back.
This year, I mean, you guys think?
I think we'll have Wheeler this year. I think we'll have a couple of months of Wheeler.
Yeah.
Which and Verrett has done a decent job filling in, but I'd much rather have Wheeler than Verrett.
Yeah.
The Bone Spur Fairy is going to hopefully...
What is that? First of all, what's weird about that is I just don't recall any of the guys having a bone spur on the Mets in years, and now all of a sudden it's some sort of viral. It's like they're like some sort of poker table.
It's communicable.
Yeah, it's a communicable bone. You think
they're all in the shower?
Are they doing some sort of like?
I don't know.
Remember who the Bash Brothers?
The Bash Brothers, and then they're giving out bone spurs.
That was the original bone spur transfer. That was patient zero for bone spurs.
I posted this thing on the Mets Reddit when the Mets swept the Cubs in that 4-game series.
Yeah.
with the Cubs pitchers. Basically, it was the meme of the Dave Chappelle crack guy.
Yeah.
And it was like, y'all got any more of them bone spurs?
Yeah, that's pretty damn funny. We probably do. We probably have a couple more starters already.
Yeah.
Let's get into this week. So it was a short week. We're back from the All-Star break. I personally wanted to sweep the Phillies, but are you happy with 2 out of 3, Andrea?
I am happy with 2 out of 3,
Yeah.
definitely. And when we talked about this being a break, like what's going to happen? Is it going to hurt us? Or I definitely thought it was going to help us.
Yeah.
So great. I would have liked to sweep them too, but I'll take it.
Yeah. How do you feel about taking 2 out of 3 from the Phillies?
It was a shame the way they lost the one that they lost.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was I'm okay with 2 out of 3. Especially today was so deliriously dominant. Not just DeGrom pitching only the 24th complete game in the National League.
Yeah.
Which isn't it nuts that we've just stopped that?
Yeah.
We should probably not even keep track of that stat
I know
anymore.
nobody does it. No, but you know what's interesting? I was thinking about it today. Is it must mean that pitchers are just not getting easy outs because he only threw 100 pitches, or not even,
Yeah.
I think, to get through this game. So you'd think, how few times is somebody getting to the 9th inning at 90 pitches?
Well, I mean,
too?
part of it is he only walked one batter.
Yeah.
And he only gave up 1 hit.
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't just a complete game. It was utter dominance.
Mastery.
He gave up 1 hit to the pitcher.
I know that's
which-
got to be so. That's got to be like even more
hilarious.
frustrating when he goes home at night and he's like, I don't have a no hitter on my record because I gave up a hit to the
Yeah.
pitcher. Let's talk about DeGrom, because obviously that was an unbelievable performance. Do we think that he's now back to being the ace, the other ace 1 and 1A, or is this, hey, he had 11 days off and he was super strong, and do we think he's going to lose a little bit off that fastball again?
And it's weird to look at stuff like this because I think game splits sometimes you can make him prove whatever you want.
Yeah.
But he's unhittable in the daytime. Like in day
interesting.
games, he is.
I didn't see that
He
stat.
is absolutely unhittable. Like his daytime nighttime split is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
crazy.
And is that the norm for a lot of pitchers? I don't even know if that's like.
I don't think so. No, it's maybe he's a morning person.
Yeah, he's just the guy.
I don't know what
he's
it
just the
is.
guy who gets tired around 9 p.m.
He's from Florida. He likes sunshine.
The clock hits 9 and it's the 6th inning. He's like, oh man.
He's got a
You know
young
what's
baby.
weird about
Yeah, he's
that
got a
too?
newborn. Right? Yeah, he's got a
Yeah.
newborn. He's just tired from being a newborn dad.
On a serious note, that's
Yeah.
why I was like laughing, but like,
Yeah.
maybe like a vision thing. You know what I mean? Like sometimes when it's
Yeah.
in there, I mean that has a lot to do with it, with the lights and the lighting.
for sure.
I mean,
It could be.
I play sports, and when I go into those either night games for softball or like a soccer under the on a turf under
Yeah.
the lights, it is a totally different game. So, I mean, you never know, but I really like that you brought up that fact because that's pretty cool.
I got to interview for Major League Podcast. I interviewed Ed Hearn recently.
Oh, nice.
And one of the first things we talked about was part of why he dropped as far as he did in the draft was because I forget what year of high school, but he was like killing it. And then suddenly he was hitting like 150. And his mother was the one who was like, do you think you should get your eyes checked? And he did. And that's why Ed
No
Hearn had
way.
those giant glasses. It's because he realized that like he had trouble seeing, and it was like a real life major
It's
league
like what
thing.
Charlie Sheen
Yeah.
said.
But it was real. It was real. And then he got the glasses, and then he hit like 600.
Who was that
Crazy.
player? I'm not even remembering if it was baseball or basketball. There was a player who got LASIK, and it was like, oh man, he was gonna like retire. I
Oh,
forget.
I'm not sure. I don't know the story.
Yeah, like somebody who was like ready to hang it up, and then he got LASIK, and he was like back to being
Changed the game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I forget it was like Ray Allen or somebody like in basketball, but that's kind of nuts. But so the question remains: do we think DeGrom is officially back to being an ace? Can we ride with him for the rest of the season?
I say yes.
I mean, I certainly hope so. It's crazy to. I mean, he had a 2.40 ERA before today.
No, I know, but
No one was hitting.
yeah, but
He just had the run support of Sid Fernandez.
no. But if you look
Yes.
objectively at his season, he was not painting the corners the way.
Yeah, he wasn't what he was last year.
Yeah. Do we think he is now?
I certainly hope so. I actually, in the beginning of the season, and I still think it, looking at the crazy pitching staff they had, my take was that Syndergaard is the ace of this team.
Yeah. Well, that's obviously become clear most
Yeah.
of the year until today.
Yeah, but it's one of these things that, like, now I hope that Syndergaard and DeGrom can make up for the fact that there's no Harvey, and there hasn't been a Harvey all season, frankly.
Yeah.
I actually think the best thing to happen is that we found out he was injured.
Yes.
Yeah,
for a lot
instead
of
of
reasons.
just-
You missed that
For a
show,
lot of
Mars.
reasons. I mean,
Yeah.
we've been on him. I mean, everybody in New York's been on that guy too. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it also kind of
literally or figuratively.
a lot of. I mean, he's a young single guy in the city.
Let him
making
do what he
400
wants.
No, but he's only making 480,000 or something. So
Yeah.
how much trouble could he? But also, like, man, how much money did he just not make from now? Like when Harvey goes into free agency, do you think somebody's going to offer him a $100 million contract? I don't
Not
think
after
so.
the second time
No.
he's gone down
Yeah.
like this. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to suck for him. But so
It's also one of those things that it makes you, in hindsight, go, what if they traded him?
we had many opportunities this year to go, you know what, let's go for it. Let's get a big bat. Harvey's the guy that you got to give up. There was that brief stretch where he had those 3 outings in a row that would have been selling high. I mean, that's like right before the housing market crashed. You're like that guy who's made $1 billion off that. So what do we think about Verrett? Do we think he's passable for the rest of the year? Is that going to be a viable option? I mean, he gave up 2 runs in 6 innings. I mean, he basically matched the Phillies pitcher.
So in the beginning of the year, he was lights out.
Yeah.
And I actually wanted to sell T-shirts that said, our 7th starter is better than your ace. With a little number 7 like the train. Those totally would have sold. But now it would have been like, our 7th starter is probably around your number 4, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe your number 5, depending.
Yeah, I mean, depending
on the team.
He had some rough patches. Now he's had...
He's a little over 4 right now.
Yeah.
But you know who's really the problem? And it's Tony Nodad, Antonio Bastardo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was supposed to come in and bolster that bullpen something fierce, and he has been wholly unreliable.
Well, I definitely don't like the idea that now we have to go get a middle reliever by trading away somebody.
Yeah.
Like that's really not what we want to be doing to our farm system for a middle reliever.
Well, I mean, middle relievers are important, but it's also the idea that like Reed and Familia can't pitch every day.
I was just thinking that the best thing about DeGrom today was that just Reed and Familia just going, okay, we can go go take a nap today.
Yeah,
you know?
I don't know what it is now, but I checked around 30 games into the season. They had Reed on pace to pitch some sort of crazy amount of appearances.
Don't you think we are partially responsible for Reed's success? That he came to our comedy shows and that's why he's doing so well?
Absolutely.
I mean, if more athletes came to stand-up comedy shows...
tell that story? Like, how do you know him like that?
Well, first of all, I think it's ridiculous that you said that we're partially responsible for success. Because we are solely responsible for success.
Solely responsible.
So I actually, just in a weird coincidence thing, like I talked to him through Twitter, like, and when he was on the Diamondbacks, he followed me. I don't know if he knew my comedy or not. I think maybe because his parents are actually big comedy fans, and so. I just talked to him, just a nice little like, hey, when I was in Phoenix, the Diamondbacks were real nice to me, and thanks, blah blah blah. And then when he got traded to the Mets, I was like, hey, I'm actually a big Mets fan. Welcome to the Mets. And this is the weirdest thing. He was looking for a place to live, and he didn't know anything about New York. And he went on, like, he found some place on in Rego Park, and he went on Wikipedia and saw, like, to what is Rego Park, basically, and he saw that I was a famous former resident of Rego Park.
So funny.
And so he was like, hey, I know that dude. I know that guy's name. So he messaged me, and he's like, he's like, hey, this might be weird, but did you used to live in Rego Park? And I was like, that's super weird. Why? And so he told me the story of why, and he was like, yeah, we're thinking of getting a place. And I was like, you got a new baby and your wife with you? And he's like, yeah. I was like, don't live in Rego Park if you ever want them to like New York. I was like, it's a fine place to live, not as like 2 young people in their 20s with a new baby. And so we started talking through that, and it was just one of those things of like, hey, if you're at a game, come say hi. And then
very cool.
We just kind of became friends at that game, and just he took care of us when we were in spring training and hooked us up and came to the show, and his family is super nice people, and he's just a really good dude.
That's awesome. That's a great story.
Yeah, it was
really
cool. I mean, just took care of us is an understatement. Like, so nice. But we are now responsible for all the success he's having. I mean,
but at the same time, that week was the same time that like my life changed career-wise.
Yeah.
So he might be responsible for that.
That's right.
Whoa.
So Steve we had this show down in what was it, Titusville? Why don't you tell
Titusville,
that?
Florida.
Really kind of a crazy.
We
night.
were in Titusville, Florida. We had been at the game earlier that day, and then we went to go to this show, and it was this small little place, and it was pretty full because they hadn't had comedy in a while because of a real depressed place. And I
yeah, a
felt
little
like we were
depressed,
dancing in
T-Bill.
Footloose. Like we brought comedy to the town.
Oh my
The
gosh.
judges, the cops, everybody was there.
Yeah,
The whole
everyone,
town.
the whole town was there. It really is a place that like has been pretty ravaged by them closing the space shuttle program, and so like post offices and schools like had gone out of business.
Yeah.
How do you go out of business as an elementary school?
Right. Or
So
post office.
yeah, well, post office like
Yeah.
no one has you got to be able to afford a stamp to mail a letter.
Oh my God.
So, but all these people came and they were the nicest people. Like everyone was super great to us, and the staff was wonderful. The owner of the bar was great, and this one woman, I was doing a bit about how parents think they're special, and this woman, as a parent, was basically like, "Oh, I'm special." Like it was really she just waltzed right into the bit, and so I had another 2 or 3 minutes on it, and then I also had some ad lib as well, and Matt was taping the show, and so then that night uploaded the clip. And I said to Matt and Danny Jollis, who was the other comic who was there with us, before we went to sleep, I said, "Hey, I bet this clip will get like 8 or 10,000 views. I bet this will be a good clip." And the next morning it had 50,000.
Whoa.
And then it went up to, in 3 days, it went to 3.5 million. And it had, my name was the #1 trending topic on Facebook.
No
it was
way.
crazy.
Because of this lady walking up in the middle
It
of
was
her.
amazing. It was unbelievable because like we're watching the game and now like all this stuff is happening. It's
And
like,
that day, that crazy day where we were watching Nationals and Marlins BP, I did a Reddit AMA, and that blew up, and that hit their front page. And so while Matt and Danny are sitting in the dugout watching, I'm on my laptop sitting in the stands by myself, like this is before the park is open, and I'm just answering questions on Reddit. While meanwhile
crazy.
they're watching, Bryce Harper and Stanton, and
Right.
and Bonds pitching to Stanton, and like.
Well, Danny was a Nationals fan, so he's obsessed with all those guys.
guys.
But, so he introduced us to Dusty
What a
Baker.
week.
This is funny too. Dusty Baker must have spit like 45 times in a 1-minute conversation that he had with us.
But he's that's the thing. So I've actually gotten to know, through another project I'm working on, I got to know Dusty Baker, and then Dusty introduced me to Chris Spire and Jock Jones and Bob Boone. Well, this is all while the only one of those who was employed by a team was Bob Boone. He was the national assistant GM. So then Bob hires Dusty. Dusty turns around and hires Chris and Jock. And so now I know the Nationals' entire staff, and I'm like, I wish you such luck with the wild card, but lose. Please lose.
They are.
It's not personal, guys.
Yeah, they're great people.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are good people, but it was weird when we were in the Nationals club. I felt like a total traitor. We were in the Nationals clubhouse. It felt like, sneaking into the rival high school when you're about to steal the goat or something.
Yeah.
Whose
but-
stuff am I going to mess with?
Yeah.
But like Chris was so nice and he was telling us stories about, and Bob Boone sat in the dugout with me to do, because he did an episode of Major League Podcast, and so he sat there with me for probably 40 minutes, and
Wow.
even
Giant,
let me.
by the way, he's a giant. Like these old school catchers. I mean, the guy's built like a house.
Yeah. And he even was okay when I made a joke about Aaron Boone's wife being a Playboy model. He handled it very professionally.
Yeah. Well,
I asked.
as long as it's not that Danny Mathers person, is it?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I asked.
You heard about that, right?
No.
Oh, that Playboy girl who Snapchatted a naked woman in the locker room illegally.
No.
Yeah. Oh my God! And she just got suspended from a couple of jobs that she was working
Oh,
at.
jeez.
wow.
Yeah, it was horrifying, and she didn't even understand why she did anything wrong. But I hope that's not Aaron Boone's wife.
That is not the story.
Yeah.
No, it was just I asked Bob Boone. I said, is it okay that Aaron has the least All-Star games in the family because he ended up marrying a Playboy model? So does that even out?
Yeah, I think it does.
And
actually pretty
Bob's
funny.
answer was just like, Laura is a very lovely woman. I was like, good move, Bob. Good move.
You set him up for that.
Yeah.
Yes, you got to answer the right way.
So guys, we got a huge series coming up.
Yeah.
Do we think the Cubs are ready to exact revenge? We have a big road trip. Actually, we've got 3 in Chicago, I think, and 3 in Miami.
So
right?
it's been 8 games in a row, right?
that we've beaten them.
Yeah.
So are we now about to lose 3 in a row? What do we have on the horizon? What do you think, Andrea? Do you think,
I don't know. I want to say that I hope that we're just going to continue on doing that and sweep them again. I think we can, and I think, like you said, after this break, just getting a little rest and doing, I don't know, winning 2 with the Phillies and just kind of ride that.
The adage is always you play 500 against the good teams and you beat up on the bad teams.
If we do that, we actually will make the playoffs.
Right.
But we haven't.
I
The
know.
problem is we lost 2 or 3 against the Braves.
I know.
We got swept by the Padres.
I know.
Like it was, and then we turn around and we sweep the Cubs. But the weirdest part about this season is I do not remember a time in baseball history that there has been such a dichotomy in good and bad teams.
Yeah.
Is that usually it's like 2 or 3 great teams, 2 or 3 terrible teams, and everyone else in the middle.
Yeah.
And now it's like, well, we have a series against the Cubs, we have a series against the Nationals, we have a series against the Giants,
I know.
we have a series against like all these teams that are powerhouses, and then it's like, well, we better sweep the Braves, we better sweep the Phillies, we better sweep the Brewers, we better, because
it does put a lot of pressure on these series with these lesser teams.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
The good thing, look, the saving grace is, you get to play 19 games against the Braves. So you would think over a longer stretch.
And the Phillies.
You'd think over a longer stretch, like, okay, now it's time, September when we play them. Like, I think they said 19 of our last 26 games.
Especially, I think it'll also be different after the All-Star break.
Yeah.
Because what'll happen is, or not after the All-Star break, after the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Because over the next 2 weeks, the teams that aren't going anywhere are going to gut their rosters. I think one of those might be the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
And the amazing thing about that is that they've got some serious blue chip pieces.
Is that right?
So I would be very, very interested to see what happens because, the Diamondbacks are garbage this year and they spent a ton of money. So the question is, are they going to trade a couple of pieces and try to retool?
Right.
Shelby Miller's in the minors right now.
The trade deadline is July 31st, right?
That's
that
my
gives
favorite
us-
time in all of sports.
Yeah, that like week before
that day.
That day.
That day is my Christmas in all. I like that better than the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
I like that better than the World Series because it's just so exciting to be like, wait, he ended up where?
Yeah.
Like it's just.
Isn't it weird how in some ways I think that's overtaken in a lot of sports now, like the like trade stuff and the business aspect of it has somehow become like its own.
No, but do you
thing.
remember?
Right, like its own sport.
Yeah, it's its own sport.
Yeah.
But do you remember those moments where we're like, what? We got Baerga?
I know.
Alomar?
Yeah.
Like it was really weird that we got every good 90s second baseman and then they weren't good with us. But just the idea, I was like, how come we never got Knobloch? The idea.
And we also traded away Jeff Kent.
Yeah.
Before he became, that
Yeah.
was probably what set off the curse.
Yeah.
Of
The
all
curse of second base.
Yeah, the second base curse.
But now we got Walker.
Yeah, but we traded away Murphy.
True.
We got rid of Murphy. No,
That
but you know what?
depresses me so much.
Listen, I was looking at Walker's numbers. If you had said, hey, we're going to keep Daniel Murphy and he has, 250, 16, and whatever RBI, we'd be thrilled anyway. You know what I mean?
Well, but also, the fact of the matter is, I would much rather Walker for what is the 8 mil than Murphy for the 16
totally.
that he would have gotten.
I also think until they have advanced stats that tell me how many games Daniel Murphy loses for playing second base, I'm just going to assume it's as many as he wins.
Yeah, it's how many losses did the Nationals have?
They're
now?
all because of his
They're
second base
all-
flubbing. They got
all Daniel Murphy.
Most of them.
Yeah,
They only have like 10
second
losses,
base flubbing and base running.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he's one of these guys. He's hitting the cover off the ball, but he's still Daniel Murphy.
Yeah, he did that extra roll against the Mets. That extra roll in second
Yeah.
base. That was hilarious. He
He's
was doing
Christian's
it-
favorite,
yeah,
for sure.
I
Yeah,
know, I know.
he's a silly person.
So we do a little thing where we do player of the week, but I thought maybe because we just started the second half, we would do our player of the first half of the season.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
So I'll give you a second. You have like 3 seconds to think of it. Andrea, why don't you go first?
I already have it because we know Christians because we have.
Yeah, actually, I'll tell everybody
Yeah,
Christian's.
go ahead, do that.
So Christian, he said his player of the first half, not surprisingly, is Bartolo Colon. He said he's the most consistent, good fielding, and his fielding is impeccable. A little bit redundant there,
And
but yes.
also he's a nice mentor to the other guys, which helps.
He's a nice mentor.
Power
He teaches
hitter.
them how to have a side family and not
Yeah.
get caught. It's like
guys
learn from
won't
my
let it go.
mistakes. Learn from my mistakes. And he teaches that's like a life lesson. You gotta have. You can't go to court.
He's
You
years
cannot go. You cannot
beyond.
show up in court representing yourself because you're going to be the attorney of record, and there's going to be a record, Cologne versus Cologne or whatever. Kramer versus Kramer. So that was Christian's.
Yeah.
Andrew?
So mine, I've avoided making my player of the week a pitcher a lot because I feel like they get so much attention. Then I'm like, there's a Walker, or there's somebody, not only with the fielding but with bats. But I'm gonna go with Familia for the first half because
I absolutely disagree.
okay,
He blew a couple of games.
he did blow a couple of games.
Let's hear it out here. Let's
Okay.
hear it out here.
I'm gonna go overall. I mean, we could say the same things about like DeGrom and Syndergaard. Like if you're, nobody's perfect, but overall, so many people, especially with the injuries, he's there.
I'll
and
say this:
he's
I
been
agree
there.
that it's nice to think. Like I couldn't even fathom where we would be if we
didn't
have him.
I think
you know?
that's where I'm
true.
kind of coming at this with that, because I think Cologne, for the first half of his life, like this is the best, you know.
Yeah.
So for him, so I'll give that to Christian. But it was just a thought.
Listen, I mean, technically he's got 48 saves in a row or something.
Yeah.
Technically, because we don't, for some weird reason, we don't count when you blow a game with more than a 3-run lead. But it's like it's kind of
or
ridiculous.
when you blow a tie game.
Yeah, it's just kind of an absurd stat because it's totally meaningless.
Yeah.
You know, when it's like, oh well, except for all these other times where he
That you
screwed up
didn't
the
do
thing
it.
that he was supposed to do.
Right.
Right.
But anyway, so
or when he gave up inherited runs.
Yeah, all of that. I wish there was they should just get rid of that stat or, come up with some other.
Something good.
Yeah, so
But go ahead.
Yeah,
Who's
so
yours?
so our special guest Steve Hofstetter.
For the same reason, actually, and this is not just because he is a sweetheart and he helped us out. I'd say Reed.
I love it.
Because Reed has made the 8th inning disappear.
Yeah.
And basically, games have been an inning shorter. He has been the most reliable arm in the bullpen. Even I think he's got like a 2.2 ERA, and most of that comes from like 2 appearances. He had like 2 appearances where he gave up like 2 runs
Early in the season,
and then
too.
and then the other stuff has been, and most of the earned runs that he has given up, which has been hardly any, were actually he didn't give up, but someone else let his runs in, like he put a runner on base, and then someone else
I
gave
hate
up
when
a
that
2-run
happens
home
to
run.
ERA.
Yeah, which is why ERA is, that's why, FIP is more important,
Right.
but FIP's also not perfect and blah, blah. Anyway, the point is that he has been, and I mean, just dating back to the playoffs and dating back to, he got the Game 5 loss, but before Game 5 in the World Series, he was unhittable. He pitched in all 5 games.
Yeah.
So, and I know obviously the first half of the season is completely different, but reset that, take away 2 appearances, and he has been almost perfect.
And you know what? It's funny you gave her crap about Familia, but I think it's fair to say that those guys together have been the savior of. I mean, the saving grace. Like you never have to worry.
Yeah.
And I'm judging
Just get us
Familia
to the
harshly
7th.
because of how good he was last year.
And
Yeah.
that's
He's
okay,
still
well,
great.
Thank you for
He's
saying
just
that.
not-
Yeah.
That's
So
fine,
Steve, you haven't
'cause
been
that's
here
a
every week
caveat.
too, where me and Christian laugh about the fact that like he's really just a better version of Armando Benitez and Franco. He always makes you stressed, which is annoying.
Yeah.
He's not like a Rivera. He's not a stress.
But he didn't last year.
Yeah, I know.
That's the thing. Like last year was the first time I ever watched a Mets game where I didn't have to see bases loaded, no outs in the 9th inning, and then no runs scored.
Right.
I know.
And like also, I come from a very strong opinion of like baseball players get paid so much, and they should be consistent. But when somebody is above and beyond and like makes saves,
Yeah.
sometimes they blow games and stuff. But like when they make saves, that you're like, that's why you play that position.
Yeah.
That's why you're
Yeah.
on this team. That's what I love. So.
And at the end of the day with Familia, it's the ends. It's not about whether he stresses you out. He's getting the save. He's getting
Yeah.
the save. So for me, I thought about this, and in a weird way, amazingly, somehow he's sort of like overlooked. Even though he's our best player, like by far, Cespedes is my first half player.
Yeah.
Only because he came back. He came back to the team. We managed to get him here, and you can't even like without him in the lineup. We'd be like in last place. I mean, and he's hitting 300, which is actually surprising because he has a giant hole in his swing. I don't know how he's hitting 300.
Yeah, he's not a 300 hitter.
Like he has a giant hole in he swings through his shoes half the time.
Yeah.
Now Reyes is doing that too. But you know what I mean? It's just like, okay, because of him, like the rest of the lineup somehow can get some good, everybody in front of him somehow, whoever's batting in front of him somehow gets some good at bats.
Here's how good I think Reed has been this year.
Yeah.
When Terry Collins made that ridiculous move of putting Bartolo in the All-Star game.
Yeah.
Which I get, he's a fan favorite.
He should have pitched him though if he was going to do that.
Right, he's a fan favorite. Everybody loves him. He's fun, blah, blah, blah. And I get why you don't put DeGrom in because, he gave DeGrom the option.
Yeah.
DeGrom declined it. But if you're going to look at someone else on that staff who has been so consistent, I would have put Reed in there before Cologne.
That would have been nice because Reed has been totally lights out, but then it would have been like, then first of all, then he probably would have gotten hurt because Terry is always mismanaging his use of his pitchers. We've been joking around about like which reliever's arm's going to fall off next, and I worry about Reed. So I'm glad he didn't pitch in the All-Star game.
I didn't. He didn't even necessarily need to play. No Mets had to play. But going back to what we were talking about before in terms about personality and that being so important, the only reason why Terry Collins doesn't frustrate me to no end is because he's a good clubhouse guy.
Yeah.
Because
He's old school. He's
tactically
Which I like.
tactically atrocious.
We talked
just
about that just
Yeah, we
last
said
week.
he's old school. He's just like, I feel that this guy, I feel that Goodell should be in right now. It's like, no, it's the 8th. Reed should be in.
Yeah.
What are you doing? There's a 2-run lead. Reed should be in the game. We got to protect it. I just feel, I'm feeling
the
Goodell.
wind's blowing
Yeah, I know. He's like,
east
you know what? I'm
today.
feeling like
Yeah.
Flores. He's been too hot this week. Let's cool him down for a minute. He
Yeah.
needs to just like get a cool bath.
I feel like if someone came to him with stats, he would like smack that person in the back of the head.
I mean, he's
the paper out of his hand.
Lou Brown from Major
Yeah.
League.
But what's amazing is that Terry is, I think it's one season away now from being the most tenured manager in Mets
Isn't
history.
that amazing?
Wow.
Because the Mets owners would be, I mean, the fact that Davey Johnson got fired when they were like, because they were only 2 games over 589
Yeah.
was ridiculous.
I know.
Like,
I know.
and when you look at who else has been managing the Mets, there's nobody who's like a legendary manager.
I got to be honest. I wish there was like an X's and O's assistant guy that had his ear a little bit.
Yeah.
Little.
Yeah.
Just like
it's
just like a little. I love it. I agree
Just
with
a little
you.
Jonah Hill.
Yeah, just a little bit of
Right.
yeah. Exactly. It's
we-
like we're putting in whatever that guy's
Or
name
a
is.
big
It's
Jonah
like-
Hill, because I like Big Jonah Hill better
I
than
like
Little
Big
Jonah
Jonah.
Hill.
He's much funnier.
Totally.
He's
Yeah.
much more enjoyable when he's not taking himself so serious. Like 'cause he's
Yeah.
hungry. He's just
Yeah.
hungry.
Because he's hungry.
He's just everything's so serious when you're starving.
God.
Snickers Jonah Hill.
Yeah, Snickers Jonah Hill's, but we need that guy. We need the sabermetrics guy in Terry Collins' ear, being like, "You're playing this guy today. That's the numbers. You gotta play this guy."
As weird as it is to say though, I want to see the Mets gut the farm system a little bit and take one of the B+ guys
Yeah,
and deal him, and
Yeah.
and for maybe it's for third base.
yeah,
I don't know,
Yeah.
but or maybe it's as much as, and this pains me to say because he's one of my favorite players. I love Granderson, but he's toward the end.
yeah. I mean, the only way that I
don't
guess
think anyone will take Granderson,
because
though.
a contender would want him,
Right, a
So
contender
I'm not
would.
really sure how that would,
Right,
play
but
out.
someone might take Lagares. Someone would definitely take Nemo.
Yeah, I like Lagares.
yeah.
You know what I actually do like now? Yesterday was the first day we had a double steal. I think this whole year.
And it was the dumbest place to ever
No,
double
I know,
steal.
I know, but it happened.
Can we talk about that for
There's
a second?
No reason for it.
When I was listening to
I
that
know.
game, okay, so Cespedes had, I think, 3 balls.
Yeah.
There were 3 balls on Cespedes already.
Yeah.
So you're going to open up first base,
Right.
and of course they're going to walk
I know.
Cespedes.
I
But
know.
aside from
there
that,
are 2 outs.
there's
Work
2
harder,
outs.
Work harder.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 2 outs, and you've got the 2 fastest guys on the team.
Yeah.
I get that. But to take the bat out of Cespedes' hands
know,
when there's a
it's-
runner on first and second, and the fact is, if Cespedes gets a hit, those guys are scoring
course they
anyway.
are. Of course
They're
they
the
are.
fastest guys.
I know. It's colossally stupid, but I do like that we actually have Lagares. Gives us that other element that we completely lack.
don't
Well,
have.
no, wasn't it? I thought it was.
was Reyes and
It was
somebody
Reyes
else?
and
And Granderson?
Granderson.
Yeah.
It was Reyes and Granderson.
That's right.
But just the idea that like I was listening to that, I was like, that's awesome. And then I thought about it, and I was like, no,
It's such
that's
a
a
waste.
terrible place to double steal. It worked,
Right.
but it was horrific.
Because Collins was like,
Yeah.
I feel like, let's go, guys.
You'd be
Let's
like,
run.
is it gonna rain
Now's the
tomorrow?
time.
Yeah,
Let's
I know.
double
He's
steal.
like, you know, on my elbow, I feel a burn spur coming on. Run.
Yeah.
It's a little.
No, thanks.
So before we go, tell us, where all our fans can find you. There's like 900 places, but
Well, since you're baseball fans, check out Major League Podcast, which you can find on iTunes or anywhere else, or MajorLeaguePodcast.com. Actually, this week's interview was with Ryan Thompson, who gave me a different perspective on the Vince Coleman firework incident than I've ever heard before.
oh, we have enough time to hear that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and if you want to hear it straight from Ryan's mouth, listen to the podcast. But
Yeah.
the basic summary of it is, so the thing that Vince Coleman did was not throw a firework at a little girl. The thing that he did that was stupid was light a firework in a moving car. Because he lit the firework and then he was like, I got to toss this out. And so then he went to toss it out and the firework didn't hit the girl. Apparently, the girl's father, in a, instinctual move, which
Yeah.
I get, kind of try to jump out of the way, and he hit the girl.
Oh,
And so then, of course, he immediately is, well, they threw a firework, the firework hit the girl. So immediately the guy is changing the story, and the
Right.
media runs with that. But from what Ryan Thompson said, and he said he wasn't in the same car, he was in the car right behind them, so he saw the whole thing. And he said that basically, Coleman did something incredibly stupid.
Yeah, he
but,
seemed like a guy who...
But he wasn't trying to throw a firework at a crowd of
somebody,
people.
yeah.
Right,
He-
which is like an insane person.
Right, he was
malicious,
trying to throw it out of the car,
because
which
he did something dumb.
because he did something incredibly dumb, and there weren't people around, and it went kind of near people, which is why the guy freaked out. Because obviously, if you see a firework coming toward you, even if it's not going to hit you, you're going to freak out a little
Yeah.
bit. But then the damage was done by him. So I'm still like, oh, so he's not like malicious. He's just real stupid.
Right.
But it still changes the story so much.
Of course. But I still never liked Vince Coleman.
No, neither did I. And that was on that team that lost 103 games. They lost almost 200 games in 2 years.
Yeah, that was brutal.
But at the same time, it does change that story for me, and I think any Met fan should listen to that interview, not just because I like ratings, but any Met fan. Yeah,
adjustment.
And we also talked a lot about, Bobby Bonilla and about the fact that like Ryan Thompson hadn't met Jeff Torborg until Torborg put him in the game.
Wow.
Like in his debut, because it was the first day he got there.
Yeah.
And like Torborg goes over to him on the bench and he tells a story about it, and he's like, "Oh, kid, welcome, good to have you. You loose?" And I stop and I go, "Wait a minute. Had you not talked to him yet?" And he goes, "No, I hadn't seen him before."
Wow.
He clearly wasn't a player's coach like Terry Collins. So that's on Major League Baseball.
No, so it's MajorLeaguePodcast.com,
Major League Podcast.
or you can just look up Major League Podcast on any podcasting site. And I've talked to a couple Mets. I talked to Barry Lyons, talked to Ed Hearn, talked to Ryan Thompson, and it's been fun. Obviously my homerness comes out sometimes.
It should. Why not?
Yeah, especially when I talk to someone who is on like the Red Sox. We talk about '86 or something like
Nice.
that. But it's been fun. We talked to former players about the phrase we always use is it's about them as a person, not as personnel.
Nice, awesome, and go check him out at a comedy club too. Check out his stuff because it's awesome. And Andrea, where can the folks find you?
Thanks, you guys. Follow me at Andy Fasano and leave comments on our YouTube page. Let's keep the conversation going.
Yeah,
right?
Matt Ritter 1 on Twitter and Mets Wrap 360. I forget what our Twitter
ABTV
handle is.
Mets.
Yeah, something like that.
You'll find it.
All right, great stuff. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Good stories.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.